Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Kevin Robert Campbell. Would you just give me a sec? Okay, back to our subject of today. I have recently been working on a video, and this is the video. Let's talk about Mark Millar and his comic book adaptations. Let's get started, and the differences between them. Born in Coatbridge, Scotland in 1969, I believe, after his parents died of, I think it was cancer, he basically walked into comic books. He's written a lot of comic books and has been well regarded as up there with some of the greats. But I should start off with the content of Millar's books, which are summed up in the Linkar clip and a few other clips that basically describe what Millar's work is like. So that's basically let Linkara say what some of his books contain.
Wanted, a widely panned series about supervillains having already conquered the world and is considered overly depressing and needlessly mean-spirited. The Unfunnies, where children's cartoon characters discover more adult material thanks to a murderous cartoonist who manages to get away with all his crimes without consequence. Nemesis, a story where a supervillain kidnaps the children of a police officer, artificially inseminates the daughter using the son's sperm, then rigs her womb to completely collapse if she tries to have an abortion. Yes, seriously.
Yeah, I figured because he's Scottish. Other people think it's because he's fucking insane. I see him as. Do you know what I see Mark Millar as sometimes? Frank Millar. If Frank Millar wasn't cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs instead, which is bonkers. But anyways, now let's get to the main part. Let's just say that some of his other projects that he's worked on have basically been a part of two of the biggest comic book companies ever, and it's not Dark Horse Comics or even Dynamite Comics. It's obviously Marvel. And also, we must never forget the competing company, DC. Millar wrote books for each one of them, and some of them were really good, like the Ultimates, which is his take on the Avengers. Ultimate X-Men, which is his take on, well, the X-Men. Kind of self-explanatory there. The Ultimate Fantastic Four, which was pretty good. Must say so myself. Well, this one is being Superman Red Sun, which is a really good book. And then also we have Wolverine, more known as Old Man Logan. Then we've also got Civil War. All of these have been adapted really well into the big screen. Each one, like Logan, Captain America 3, The Ultimates, the actual Avengers film, and Superman Red Sun, which is his newest one. But he's mostly known for Kick-Ass, which is his most popular comic book date. There was also Kingsman Secret Service that was worked on him by Dave Gibbons. Oh, Dave Gibbons seems to be everywhere now that I read a book. Although he had been doing this for the business for quite a while, he decided to set up his own brand of comic books that he could make on his own, with creative freedom, with some inspiration from Stan Lee. So his first few comics that he started to work on, it was for his brand Millarworld, and his first one was Wanted. Millarworld was set up and basically helped him to fund and release his very first book under the line, Wanted, released in 2003. Wanted follows the story of Wesley Gibson, who's basically a nobody and then is hired by this group of supervillains known as the Fraternity. Also, the main character looks like Eminem. He basically dons this thing after learning that his father has been killed and becomes a supervillain. The comic book is absolutely insane and is complete bonkers. But yet I love it. It's very mean-spirited though and has some very depressing dialogue. And basically, the bad guy is a skeleton guy. Hey, no one's perfect. The series was released and was panned by audiences. The comic did sell pretty well and basically was a big hit. But it was really despised by people who actually read the book. The book even makes fun of you at the end for basically buying something else instead of this. But also the final page has him saying that, yeah, it's funny as hell though. Oh, but trust me, this would not be the last time that Miller ended one of his books with an image. God damn it. That wasn't until Fate came knocking on his door. Universal came along and picked up the rights to the book. The loosely based film. Wanted, which was released in 2008 by some director who's probably German or Russian, was basically loosely based on the comic, with some similarities. The comic still follows Wesley, but he's played by James McAvoy. Wesley's basically works at an office job until he's hired by Sloan. Sloan sees his potential since his father, who was recently killed, basically has potential. He's basically also persuaded by Fox, played by Angelina Jolie. With this happening, he decides to train and basically hunt down and join known as, the team to take down the bad guys. But there is more to this story than Wesley knows, and it goes in different ways. The differences from the comic are very kind of noticeable if you've read the book. You could just watch this as a simple action film. But the differences including basically, it's no longer supervillains that they become. Instead, it's, assassins. Possibly due to Universal not wanting the film to be, mean-spirited and all that. God damn it, there's even a bloody train derailing and it's really cool. CGI is a bit crap though, but I can really get past it. Hell, there was even a tie-in video game, which is pretty good actually, I've heard. Wanted, Weapons of Fate, which also has a really good remix using Danny Elfman's song The Little Things, was released in 2009. It follows like a sequel to the film, and is based on the film as well, but it's also kind of based on the comic. Wesley wears the suit that he wears in the comic, and it has a lot more similarities to the comic, with a lot more of its humor and, kind of like supervillain, really good attitude. And, yeah. After the success of, Wanted, the next film that was going to be adapted from Miller's work was one of his most recent and most popular, Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass, which was released in 2008, has got to be Miller's most famous book and is well regarded. The comic is definitely violent, mean-spirited, and very harsh, but it's incredible for that. The entire book is incredibly written and is definitely like something out of a shit-filled garbage can, but it still is incredible, even spawning sequels like Kick-Ass 2, which we'll get to later, Kick-Ass 3, and also a spin-off, Kick-Ass vs. Hit-Go. But let's get into the actual film. Released in 2010, directed by Matthew Vaughn, the cousin of Guy Ritchie. The film follows Dave Lazuski, a teenager that wants to become a superhero, but is also up with his game with other superheroes, like Chloe Moretz's Hit-Go and Big Daddy, played by the always incredible Nicolas Cage. As basically the film is just them kind of like being superheroes, and it does really do kick ass. This film is just incredible. Every single aspect to it is well thought out and is very clever. It's got a really good wit to it and basically has very smart and good dialogue to it. Even the villain played by Mark Strong is really good. So yeah, will I recommend Kick-Ass? Of course, just go and get it on DVD and watch it. Or maybe I've suggested you could just re-watch it then. After the success of Kick-Ass, which made millions of dollars at the box office, it was time for Miller's next project. Except for the decide to adapt Kick-Ass 2, the comic. I'll get this over with in a few seconds. Kick-Ass 2, released in 2013 and directed by the guy that made that shitty Truth or Dare film, is one of the worst adaptations of Miller's work. Well, Fan Forstig did it pretty well, but the studio interference is very felt and basically, it's very bland compared to the original. The Kick-Ass 2 comic is very, very dark and does not shy away from the things. Except for in the film, there's racial stereotypes and it treats dark scenes as silly. I know Miller's work is like that, but when it treats something humorous that's not supposed to be humorous, it's quite incredible. But yeah. After that, Miller's next projects were coming up, and then Matthew Vaughn returned. After being silent from Kick-Ass 2, he returned and basically began work on what was one of their famous projects. This being Kingsman. Kingsman the Secret Service, which was released in 2012, basically follows a simple premise. What if basically James Bond, like a really good agent, hired this little thug kid to become another agent? And that's basically it. It's a big spy comic and it's really, really good. And then the film came along. Kingsman, released in 2014 and directed by Matthew Vaughn, follows Eggsy. Remember, I don't really know all their names just now. Colin Firth brings in Eggsy to be a part of an agency known as the Kingsman, because they're trying to hunt down, well, Samuel Jackson, who's with his assistant known as Gazelle, I think it is, who's also got really, really cool knife legs. I'm trying here, sorry. From basically releasing this virus that could basically make people turn very aggressive and violent. So they have to stop it before it happens. This has got so much action in it that's absolutely crazy. This film is energetic and incredible, and it's got really good action scenes. And trust me, the film did do really, really well at the box office. And got a sequel. Now trust me, everything can have a sequel, except for this is not acceptable. The biggest problem with Kingsman 2 is that it feels standard and bland. Something just doesn't feel like... It feels like he's being controlled. This is exactly with Kick-Ass 2 as well. It appears that Miller cannot write good sequels. Even... Possibly the only one that he managed to get well isn't even a film, it's a video game. For Wanted, but still. Out of all of his work, this is just embarrassing. Elton John was pretty good in it, and I have to admit, some of the action scenes are really good, but it's really disappointing. And I understand why critics didn't really like it, but you can kind of agree where they're coming from. Miller's next project, which is coming out in cinemas, is the new Kingsman movie, which is a prequel. He's also got Jupiter's Legacy, which is an adaptation of one of his books. But mainly, I think he should just stick to what his next project is. Although I have heard that his Netflix deal with Jupiter's Legacy has made him not be able to make any sequels to his books. But I would like to see whatever he does next. I have heard that Joe Cornish, who made Attack the Block, is going to work on one of his comic books into a film. So I may actually check it out. But anyways, that's the video that I have for you today. Peace out, homie. Huh. Paper notes plastered into an X. That's really cool.
What the fuck have you done lately?